Hey guys, to kick off this walkthrough, I will show you the main edit I made for my playlist, which was the addition of a seventh song at the beginning. My playlist focuses on Annie Wilkes, the main character from Stephen King's novel Misery, about a woman who goes crazy and kidnaps a world-famous author and mutilates him in the process. My playlist lacked a sense of who Annie was before she is introduced to us in the novel, which is an important part of who she is as a character, I think. Her life before she finds Paul included time she spent as a nurse in a hospital and a series of trials in which she was the main suspect for a series of serial killings. The inclusion of this chapter of her life lets us, as the audience, know why she is as insane as she is. The song I used to show this was Gnarls Barkley's Crazy, which is very up-tempo and includes powerful instrumentation. It also includes lyrics that show just how crazy someone can be, and I think with the addition of this song at the beginning of my playlist, I can show what spawned the insanity inside of her, and then keeping the other 6 songs that I have in my playlist already, I can further develop the character of Annie Wilkes. That includes her kidnapping, the peak of her psychosis, and what leads to her eventual death. For the second part of my walkthrough, I will talk about the actual finished playlist that I made. You already know about who Annie is, but I'll just remind you, she's the antagonist of the classic Stephen King novel Misery, and she's known to be one of the greatest villains of all time. My first song is Crazy by Gnarls Barkley, but I spoke about that one already, so I'm going to skip it. The next song is She Said by Plan B, and this is it's like a he said, she said sort of song. It reminds me of a cat and mouse game, which I think is sort of like how Annie and Paul are throughout the novel. And, Annie takes control and says things have to be this way, not that way. And the song is, it's very quick, but sort of very quiet, and it sort of exemplifies that. The next song is Crazy in Love by Beyonce. And I think this song shows just how crazy Anne is towards Paul in a more obsessive way. The song is very quiet and dark and starts off really slow and builds into be something so much more. And the lyrics even are obviously point right to who Annie is. The next song is Creep by Radiohead, which lyrically makes a lot of sense, just like Crazy in Love, but this one, like I said, sonically is very important as well. The tempo of the song builds just sort of the way Annie's Psychosis does, and it just begins with the drum, and then it ends with like an electric guitar and more powerful singing, and it's the sort of goes along the way of how Annie embraces the things inside of her that make her so crazy. Led Zeppelin's Ramble On is my next song, and this is the other up-tempo song I included. Annie's not a character that warrants a lot of happy up-tempo songs, but this one is sort of about losing control but still needing to do things, and I think that speaks to the serial aspect of Annie. She doesn't have really any other option. She has to do the things that she does. And in this song, the deep, raspy voice of Led Zeppelin, he just screams "Ramble On," and it's exactly what Annie is doing. She just keeps going and just keeps committing these evils and digging herself deeper. The next song is Overjoyed by Bastille. And I chose an a cappella version because the song is about being happy, but the a cappella gives it another layer, which I think is very different. The lyrics talk about a darker side of joy. When push comes to shove, things that we are so happy about maybe don't really deserve our happiness, but I think that's very important because, all these horrible things happen in the novel, but for Annie, everything's going according to plan. These are the things that do make her happy, and I think that's why I chose this song. And my last song is I See Fire by Ed Sheeran. It talks about smoke and fire sort of sweeping through and bringing everything to an end. And this wavering voice sings and pleads for help. And it's a very slow, quiet song. The guitar strums, it sort of sets the tone that, this is the end, and life is over, and the fire is, just like in the novel, it sort of ties everything together and stops it. And I also included a quote at the bottom because I feel like that this is a really powerful quote from the novel, and it sort of ties together the character of Annie, and it goes, "Now the time has come. I put 2 bullets in my gun, one for me and one for you. Oh, darling, it will be so beautiful." And it talks about how she's going to shoot Paul and then shoot herself, and together they will go to heaven and be able to be together once more and not have to deal with this earth. And I think that's very important because it shows just how crazy she really is. And that's my playlist.